Good evening, beloved to Christ. Christ is risen. One of the questions we get from people who are new to Orthodox worship is, what's the deal with the incense? Why do you burn so much incense? And there are a couple of ways I like to answer that question. One, of course, is to give kind of the churchy answer, which is that as the incense burns, it symbolizes in a beautiful, very physical way how our prayers are also offered up. And of course, this is from the Psalms, Psalm 141, which we sing at virtually every Vesper service. Let my prayer arise in thy sight as incense, and let the lifting up of my hands be an evening sacrifice. And so the psalmist, naturally, as he burned incense and offered up his prayers, he saw that smoke floating up just as he hoped his prayers would rise up and be heard by God. If you went to a university and took a class on ancient history, however, the professor might say, oh, that's just spiritualized folk religion type stuff. The real answer as to why the Orthodox Church burns incense is because in antiquity everybody burned incense. It was what was done in almost every public gathering, whether it was political and governmental, or whether it was a religious gathering. And this is true in the ancient Near East and the Hebrew world, and it was true all the way through the Roman world. And that just on a practical level, people may not have bathed as much. And this was a way to guarantee that the atmosphere and the ambiance of the gathering would be pleasant for everyone involved. Now, it's critical, I think, for us to see that these two aren't in distinction. As a matter of fact, while this second explanation certainly historically can be borne out, the movement towards faith is that we see the first while we also see the second. So it's true that early Christians and their Jewish forebears would have burned incense anytime they got together because it had all sorts of practical benefits. While they burned incense, and while they saw that smoke rising up, they thought of the things divine, and they thought about how the mysteries of God work within this world around us. And so they saw something as mundane as smoke, something we don't see nearly as much of today because now we have electrical appliances and we have gas lines and things like that. Smoke, a common thing they would have seen time after time, day in, day out, they started to see, and they thought of God. And they thought of how God's benevolence and loving kindness allows him to receive the offerings of our prayers, the evening sacrifice that we offer up along with the smoke of our incense. And so it is not one or the other, it is a both and. And you can find so many of the ancient things within our worship life have similar functions. There was a historical cause or occasion, but in time a beautiful spiritual meaning grew up around it. And so we give thanks to the one true living God who continues to hear our prayers as we send them up as an evening sacrifice, as smoke rising up into the air. Thanks be to the God who hears us. Christ is risen.